is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list. You don't think that Bill Gates is lobbying Congress night and day to prevent the disclosure of that list? And why is it that the Senate, and good for Senator Blackburn to try to get it out, but then Dick Durbin comes over the top and says, no, we're not going to release the names. I don't care about the list itself, but release the names, right?
And I've said it, Dan Bongino said it, we've reviewed all the information, and the American public is going to get as much as we can release. He killed himself. Do you think, let's play out the logical conclusion of this. Do you think that myself, Bongino, and others would participate in hiding information about Epstein's grotesque activities? Or do you think we would also participate in not prosecuting people we had evidence to prosecute people on?
Yes.
Where's the videotape?
I do think that now.
Article that just came out in the Gray Zone by Max Blumenthal and Anya Parampil, who are fantastic. And this is that Charlie Kirk refused Netanyahu funding offer and was frightened by pro-Israel forces before death, friend reveals. Now, you can think whatever you want to think about whether or not Israel's responsible for this or they're not, but I do think that what is very telling about what's happening right now is that they have very clearly lost control over the narrative and over their image, and immediately people are willing to question them on this. And I think that that's at least something good, is that now
you're right, 9 times out of 10, probably 10 times out of 10,
right?
Blaming Israel.
Did Israel do it? Probably yes. Yeah.
They just shown there's literally no rule that they obey.
No, that
I mean,
yeah.
Oh, is North Korea a rogue nation?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, they're really out of control. So a Trump insider and longtime friend of Charlie Kirk tells the Gray Zone how the assassinated conservative leader's turning point on Israel influence provoked a private backlash from Netanyahu's allies that left him angry and afraid. The source said anxiety spread within the Trump administration after an apparent Israeli spying operation was uncovered. Charlie Kirk rejected an offer earlier this year from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to arrange a massive new infusion of Zionist money into his Turning Point USA organization, America's largest conservative youth association, according to a longtime friend of the slain commentator speaking on the condition of anonymity. The source told the Gray Zone that the late pro-Trump influencer believed Netanyahu was trying to cow him into silence as he began to publicly question Israel's overwhelming influence in Washington and demanded more space to criticize it. In the weeks leading up to his September 10th assassination, Kirk had come to loathe the Israeli leader, regarding him as a quote-unquote bully. The source said, that's saying it lightly. Kirk was disgusted by what he witnessed inside the Trump administration, where Netanyahu sought to personally dictate the president's personnel decisions and weaponized Israeli assets like billionaire donor Miriam Adelson to keep the White House firmly under its thumb. According to Kirk's friend, who also enjoyed access to President Donald Trump and his inner circle, Kirk strongly warned Trump last June against bombing Iran on Israel's behalf. Quote, Charlie was the only person who did that. They said, recalling how Trump barked at him in response and angrily shut down the conversation. The source believes the incident confirmed in Kirk's mind that the president of the United States had fallen under control of a malign foreign power and was leading his own country into a series of disastrous conflicts. By the following month, Kirk had become the target of a sustained private campaign of intimidation and free-floating fury by wealthy and powerful allies of Netanyahu, figures he described in an interview as Jewish leaders and stakeholders. He was afraid of them, the source emphasized. Kirk was 18 years old when he launched TPUSA in 2012. From its inception, his career was propelled by Zionist donors who showered his young organization with money through neoconservative outfits, like the David Horowitz Freedom Center. He repaid his wealthy backers over the years by unleashing a relentless fire hose of anti-Palestinian and Islamophobic diatribes, accepting propaganda trips to Israel, and sternly shutting down nationalist forces challenging his support for Israel during TPUSA events. In the Trump era, few American Gentiles had proved more valuable to the self-proclaimed Jewish state than Charlie Kirk, but as Israel's genocidal assault on the besieged Gaza Strip drove an unprecedented backlash within grassroots right-wing circles, where only 24% of younger Republicans now sympathize with Israel over the Palestinians, Kirk began to shift. At times, he towed the Israeli line, spreading disinformation about babies beheaded by Hamas on October 7th and denying the famine imposed on the population of Gaza. Yet he simultaneously ceded to his base, wondering aloud if Jeffrey Epstein was an Israeli intelligence asset, questioning whether the Israeli government allowed the October 7th attacks to proceed in order to advance long-term political goals, and parroting narratives familiar to his most vociferous critic on the right, streamer Nick Fuentes. So here is Charlie Kirk questioning October 7th, and this is something I also questioned the day that it happened, for reasons that Charlie explains here. Israel is a fortress. Oh, come on now. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, I lost it. Hold, please. Hold, please. I lost that video. It just disappeared.
Sometimes the whole country.
Oh, there it goes.
When I first heard this story, I still had the same gut instinct that I did initially. I find this very hard to believe. I've been to that Gaza border. You cannot go 10 feet without running into a 19-year-old with an AR-15 or an automatic machine gun that is an IDF soldier, right? The whole country is surveilled. And so let me just kind of go through this. We don't talk about Israeli politics very often, and most Americans don't know this. The last 9 months, Israel was on the brink of civil war. It's not an exaggeration. This judicial stuff, there were hundreds of thousands of Israelis taking to the streets because Bibi Netanyahu was basically redefining the Israeli constitution. That's not an exaggeration, right? He said the judicial branch has too much power. There were protests planned this week against Netanyahu, where they anticipated tens of thousands of people to take to the streets. That's all gone, Patrick. Netanyahu now has an emergency government and a mandate to lead. I'm not willing to go so far that saying that Netanyahu knew or there was intelligence here, but I think some questions need to be asked. Was there a stand down order? Was there a stand down order? 6 hours? I don't believe it.
Was.
Israel's the size of New Jersey. When I took a helicopter ride from Jerusalem to the Gaza border, it's 45 minutes. Wow. 6 hours. They're live streaming the killing of Jews. Did somebody in the government say stand down? That is a legitimate, non-conspiracy question. The whole country is the IDF. The whole country is. Yeah. And you're trying to tell me that they're going to concerts and kibbutzes and schools and by report.
Yes. And that is a very valid question. Was it allowed to happen?
Well, of course, now, of course, it was allowed to happen on purpose. We know what happens when things get tough for Netanyahu. He'll kill anybody. He'll kill Jews on October 7th, and he'll have his what's the guy, Gallant? Who's the guy who ordered Hannibal Directive? They asked him on
Gallant.
TV.
Yeah.
And then him and Bibi get in a fight because Bibi's too crazy even for him, I guess.
Yeah.
And then they comes out, it was given a little bit. The whole country's the IDF. So that means the Hannibal Directive, they killed their own people. So if they do that to Israeli Jews, if that's what the IDF would do under orders, what do you think they do to Charlie Kirk at a crucial moment when they just blew up Qatar? One of the biggest crimes I've ever heard of. Yeah. And
listen, Gaza was one of the most it's a tiny area, and it was one of the most surveilled pieces of land on the planet. I mean, period. There's absolutely you cannot convince me, not to mention the fact that the Egyptians warned Israel in the weeks leading up to October 7th. So there's, I'm sorry.
Things that people just blank out if they don't want to hear it. But Charlie Kirk was a true believer. I didn't realize that. I was like, oh, surely he knows better. But no, he's a pretty young guy, and he probably started to dawn on him. Somebody gets gradually disillusioned with their righteous cause that they really believed in.
Yes.
And you start asking questions, and then you're in trouble because you asked questions.
Yeah.
Right. And
once you ask a question, it's like a snowball effect. You just start to question everything. So this July at his TPUSA Student Action Summit, Kirk provided a forum for the right-wing grassroots to vent its fury about Israel's political hammerlock on the Trump administration. There, speakers from former Fox News stalwarts Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly to the anti-Zionist Jewish comedian Dave Smith denounced Israel's blood-soaked assault on the besieged Gaza Strip, branded Jeffrey Epstein as an Israeli intelligence asset, and openly taunted Zionist billionaires like Bill Ackman for, quote, getting away with scams despite having no actual skills. So here's Tucker talking about that very thing.
For it. The unfairness of it drives you crazy. And it's particularly galling in the case of Jeffrey Epstein and the whole constellation of people around Jeffrey Epstein, all of whom seem to be getting away with scams. And how do you know they're getting away with scams? I'll tell you how, because they're useless and they're rich. So how do you come to a place where some of the least impressive, most useless people who have no actual skills become billionaires? How's that legitimate? And by the way, if you ask this question, at least in Washington, it's like, oh, well, yeah, sounds like you're a socialist. Sounds like socialism. Yeah, okay, I'm a socialist now. All right. I was a Qatari agent or a bigot. Now I'm a socialist. All right. Leaving aside my committed socialism, can you answer the question? How did Bill Ackman get $9 billion? Bill Ackman, a pretty impressive guy? I know Bill Ackman. No.
Jacking up the prices on drugs. That's how.
Well-connected and super aggressive. That's it.
Martin Shkreli stuff he did.
I think, well-connected, super aggressive people deserve a fair living like everybody else. But if you're accruing $9 million just because you're willing to do anything, I don't know why we have to pretend that's good.
Yeah. So
Well, Israel doesn't anything, and they're good, so that's why.
yeah, they're.
Would you
whatever,
do anything to survive if you were Israel? Even kill a bunch of kids and kill Charlie Kirk with a fake thing and make it a left? It's as soon as Max Blumenthal is writing a report on it, you know that's where the story goes. I mean,
yeah. The whole it's all very.
I'm proud. I've never seen them report anything where I was like, oh, they were way off on that one.
Right? No,
I'm
there's
sure
all.
they have a mistake, but I just haven't seen it. I've seen it with everybody else, though.
I think they were a little, or maybe that was Aaron. There was something with Syria or not Syria. I don't. Never mind. I don't want to misspeak. Okay. So following the confab, Kirk was bombarded with infuriated text messages and phone calls from Netanyahu's wealthy allies in the U.S., including many who had funded TPUSA. According to his longtime friend, the Zionist donors treated Kirk with outright contempt, essentially ordering him to fall back into line.
There you go.
Yes. Quote, he was being told what you're not allowed to do, and it was driving him crazy, Kirk's friend recalled. The conservative youth leader was not only alienated by the hostile nature of the interactions, but quote unquote, frightened by the backlash. I get it. The friend's account dovetails with those of multiple right-wing commentators with access to Kirk. Quote, I think in the end, Charlie was going through a spiritual transformation. Candace Owens, a conservative influencer who shifted decisively against Israel after October 7th, reflected after her friend's killing. I know it. He was going through a lot. There was a lot of pressure, and it's hard for me to watch the people who were pressuring him just say the things that they're saying. She continued, they wanted him to lose everything for changing or even slightly modifying an opinion. It's very hurtful to me. Kirk appeared visibly outraged during an August 6th interview with conservative host Megyn Kelly as he discussed the menacing messages he was receiving from pro-Israel bigwigs. Quote, it's all of a sudden, oh, Charlie, he's no longer with us. Wait a second. What does with us mean exactly? I'm an American, okay? I represent this country. He explained before addressing the powerful Zionist interest harassing.
Killed him. I mean, they killed him. It's just mafia, obvious mafia stuff the second you hear it.
Well, and it's very clearly to not just because he was Charlie Kirk and very influential. And I think the demographic with which he was influential also matters because it was young, like it's college kids, right? And that's a very powerful demographic. So I think that matters. But I also think that this is very clearly to install fear, right? This is really about not necessarily Charlie Kirk, but you don't want to do a Charlie Kirk. If you even start to slightly question, this could be what happens to you. That's, kind of the goal here, I think. So, quote, the more that you guys privately and publicly call our character into question, which is not isolated, it would be one thing if it were just one text or two texts. It is dozens of texts. Then we start to say, whoa, hold the boat here, Kirk continued. To be fair, some really good Jewish friends say that's not all of us, but these are leaders here. These are stakeholders. He went on to complain to Kelly, quote, I have less ability to criticize the Israeli government than actual Israelis do. And that's really, really weird. In one of his final interviews conducted with Israel's premier influencer in the United States, Ben Shapiro, Kirk once again tried to raise the issue of censorship of Israel critics. Quote, a friend said to me, interestingly, Charlie, okay, we've pushed back against the media on COVID, on lockdowns, on Ukraine, on the border. Maybe we should also ask the question, is the media totally presenting the truth when it comes to Israel? Just a question. It's never just a question. So here is Charlie Kirk speaking with Ben Shapiro.
We've pushed back against the media on COVID, on lockdowns, on Ukraine, on the border, so like maybe we should also ask a question, is the media totally presenting the truth when it comes to Israel? Just a question, that maybe we shouldn't believe everything the media says, because I know I've been conditioned to ask a lot more critical questions over the last couple of years. So Ben, some people would accuse Israel of wanting to ethnically cleanse. Some people in the Israeli government are saying, again, it's all over the place, right? You have opinions all over. In your opinion, what would a good outcome 5 years from now be, and how does one respond to the claims of ethnic cleansing?
Can't
I feel
ask those
bad for
questions.
that guy, man. He was, because I was very hard on him when he goes, I'm just going to trust my friends in the government.
Yeah.
And
we were all hard. I was hard on him. I mean,
well, I assumed that he wasn't a true, I assumed he was like, no, I think he was like a genuine guy. And then you can see him having to put together, it's pretty hard to put together that the entire system of your government is completely corrupt and owned by a series of mafias. Yeah. It's hard to put that together when you're young. I know from just saying it to people that are younger than me, they're all like, that's crazy. And I go, you don't got to believe me now.
That's a really hard pill to swallow, right? Like to realize and come to terms with the fact that everything you ever thought is a lie. Yeah,
so like that's back, and that was a huge amount. Unbeknownst to me, he was pushing back an enormous amount because the stakeholders, by the way, oh my God, I love that title. The stakeholders were, hey, we're the billionaires here and you're the punk puppet that we are paying.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
know, the only reason Breaking Points can talk about Israel is because they're getting that Pierre Modry, and he's Persian or something, so they can talk about
Yeah, it
Israel.
just depends on
Whoever
who's
your
funding you.
billionaires. Don't go against your billion. Oh, people go audience capture. Oh no, I want to be billionaire captured. Morons.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, too. Billionaire captured. Okay, according to Kirk's longtime friend, Kirk's resentment of Netanyahu and the Israel lobby was spreading within Trump's inner circle. In fact, they said the president himself was terrified of Netanyahu's wrath and feared the consequences of defying him. During the past year, the Trump insider was told by contacts in the White House that the Secret Service had caught Israeli government personnel placing electronic devices on its emergency response vehicles on 2 separate occasions. While the gray zone was unable to confirm the story with the Secret Service or White House, such an incident would not have been unprecedented. Indeed, according to a report in Politico citing 3 former senior U.S. officials, a cell phone spying device was placed by Israeli agents, quote, near the White House and other sensitive locations around Washington toward the end of Trump's first term in 2019. Which is not surprising. Former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson recounted a similar incident in his memoir, writing that his security team found a listening device in his bathroom soon after Netanyahu used his personal toilet. There is currently no evidence of an Israeli government role in Kirk's assassination. However, that has not stopped thousands of social media users from speculating that the pro-Trump operatives' shifting views on the issue contributed in some ways to his death. And by the way, Miriam Adelson, Sheldon Adelson's wife, who is the person involved with all of this, was also the one that ran the spying operation on Julian Assange in the Ecuadorian embassy, where they were placing listening devices in the women's restroom to spy on him and all of his visitors, including his doctors and lawyers. So this is not unprecedented. By the time of publication, over 100,000 Twitter X users have liked a September 11th post by libertarian influencer Ian Carroll, declaring about Kirk, quote, he was their friend. He basically dedicated his life to them, and they murdered him in front of his family. Israel just shot themselves. That's a bold statement. Many advancing the unsubstantiated theory have pointed to a Twitter X post by Harrison Smith, a personality at the pro-Trump Infowars network, stating on August 13th, almost a month before Kirk's assassination, that he was told by, quote, someone close to Charlie Kirk that Kirk thinks Israel will kill him if he turns against Israel, end quote. The frenzied speculation has set off shockwaves in Tel Aviv, where Netanyahu was compelled to explicitly deny that his government killed Kirk.
Sign.
Yeah.
That's not a good.
Like I said, I think you are having issues. It's like his O.J. Simpson "If I Did It" press tour. You know,
the last time I saw someone in a Utah setting, it was that district attorney who came out to get it, not being charged with anything like this, came out to say he's not a satanic cannibal, and everyone's like, why would you? No one said that about you. Like,
yeah, why?
This is it doesn't look good to come out.
No.
But first of all, Netanyahu, normally, what would he be doing? He'd be like, this is anti-Semitic.
Of course he would. Yeah. And that's coming. That'll be coming for sure. So this is him making sure that you know that Israel did not assassinate Charlie Kirk.
Before I let you go, I want you to address one thing, and it's just the absurdity of it. Some of the internet rumors that somehow Israel is behind the Charlie Kirk murder, and I don't believe it for 1 second, but I want you to make a statement. It's so absurd.
That's insane. That's insane. Israel also changes the orbit of the moon. Israel pushes the sun. I mean, the whole thing is.
Who said
it's
that?
Not only insane. I think it's so absurd, so stupid, and so ridiculous. You can't believe that people are saying that. They just found the perpetrator. They'll get to the bottom of this, but they go. They have no limits. When you hate Jews, when you hate the Jewish state, you're willing to say anything and promote all these absurd rumors. And by the way, they're willing to kill us all the time. I mean, that's what they're doing. And over the centuries, when Jews, especially in the Middle Ages, the horrific Middle Ages, the worst things were said about Jews you couldn't possibly believe. We were poisoning the wells. We were drinking the blood of Christian children. You name it. I mean, these things, that continued actually up to the Holocaust. The Nazis said the same thing. We're carrying vermin. We're spreading disease. And people believed it. And every time they believed it, this was a prelude to a greater and greater massacre, culminating with the worst massacre of all, the Holocaust. Well, since then, we've learned, when people spread these lies about us, prepare yourself for the assault. And, they're trying to delegitimize the state of Israel. Charlie Kirk said to me that he wrote me this detailed letter. You have to fight the slander. These untruths, these vilifications have consequences. And he was right. But I'll tell you one thing. We're fighting on the battlefield against the terrorists and winning.
You are the
And he was
terrorist.
fighting on the battlefield of ideas. And I think he was winning. He was going to win. That's why they shot him.
That's why he killed
I
him.
hope they don't silence him. I don't think people will give in to these ridiculous lies.
Oh, God.
You can't
Such
say
a
that
shock.
every single time. Number one, you go, oh, Israel moves the sun. No. Well, here's what Israel does: false flags, and they kill a bunch of people, and they kill their own people.
Yeah.
So that scumbags like him, like, this is unreal. It's like if there was somebody was eaten in the neighborhood, and Jeffrey Dahmer lives there. We can't say it was this cannibal who did it. Like, you're the ones who are always the problem. Always.
Yeah.
Israel,
Yes.
not the Jews.
No.
Israel, not
Israel.
the Jews. You see
No.
how he links himself to all the Jews? That's scumbag.
Yeah, that's the cloak that he hides behind. It's disgusting that he shields himself with
That's why he was being
Judaism.
protested.
Yes, he's a scumbag. So that appearance was just one of several interviews and statements the prime minister dedicated to Kirk in the wake of his killing in an effort to frame the late conservative leader's legacy in a uniformly pro-Israel light. The major public relations push has occurred while Netanyahu wages a military campaign on 7 fronts, punctuated by a regional assassination spree that most recently reached into the heart of Qatar, a U.S. ally. In a September 10th Twitter X post eulogizing the conservative leader, the Israeli prime minister described a recent phone conversation with Kirk. He said, I spoke to him only 2 weeks ago and invited him to Israel. Sadly, that visit will not take place. I heard Charlie turned him down. So
he turned
here
him
is
down because
yes.
they were calling him anti-Semitic.
Yes.
So this is why Benjamin Netanyahu, this is like giving Robert Maxwell a hero's funeral in Israel, what he's doing.
Yeah.
Because 2-3 weeks ago, they were calling him anti-Semitic because Dave Smith, my friend, the Jew Dave Smith, was on.
Yeah.
And they're calling Charlie Kirk suddenly anti-Semitic.
Yeah, that's funny, right? So here's Benjamin Netanyahu, one of the posts that he put up. So Charlie Kirk was murdered for speaking truth and defending freedom, a lion-hearted friend of Israel. He fought the lies and stood tall for Judeo-Christian civilization. I spoke to him only 2 weeks ago and invited him to Israel. Sadly, that visit will not take place. We lost an incredible human being. His boundless pride in America and his valiant belief in free speech will leave a lasting impact. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. So 4 days before the assassination, frustration among pro-Israel commentators bubbled over in public during a Fox News interview in which Ben Shapiro launched a chilling attack on Kirk without naming him. Quote, the problem with a big tent is that you may end up with many clowns inside, Shapiro told Fox host and fellow Zionist gatekeeper Mark Levin in an apparent critique of TPUSA. Just because you're saying somebody votes Republican, that doesn't mean they ought to be the preacher at the front of the church. They're not the person that ought to be leading the movement. If they are spending all day criticizing the president of the United States as covering up a Mossad rape ring or being a tool of the Israelis for hitting a Iranian nuclear facility. When Kirk took his usual place at the front of the church 4 days later, he was cut down by a sniper's bullet. Within 24 hours of Kirk's death, Shapiro announced that he would be launching his own campus speaking tour, vowing, quote, we're going to pick up that bloodstained microphone where Charlie left it. Yeah. So, and then here's Tommy Borum, not familiar with him. They would, if Charlie turned heel on Israel, they would have someone shoot him at an open air event, and they would have some idiot groiper with a genetically anomalous issue there to be the patsy fall guy, part of why you never make a deal with the devil in the first place.
That sums it up very nicely, what he said. That sums it up just perfectly.
Yeah.
Max Blumenthal, like I said, Max Blumenthal weighing
Shout
in
out to
on
Max.
it that way.
And Anya.
And Anya Parent both of them weighing in on it makes my wild speculation feel very confident now because
they're usually right.
Ben's going to replace him, that popular guy.
Yes, and let's not even get started with that. But the idea that Ben is so swiftly, after criticizing him just days ago, after going after Charlie and trashing him publicly, again, not naming him, but still everybody knew who he was talking about. So now days later, be like, I'm going to pick up his bloodstained microphone and continue his work. Shut up.
Jesse Jackson with the bloody Martin Luther King shirt.
He's so gross.
Yeah, this is the other thing, though. It doesn't necessarily have to be Mossad because these are Zionist billionaires, the mega group you've heard of. So this is just gangsters. Like, Israel can have it farmed out. I mean, they do it themselves, which is funny. They're real hands-on with their vicious crimes, but
yes, they are.
It doesn't necessarily mean the Mossad. I'm not saying, but I'm saying it was on behalf of Israel. I have no doubt about that because that scumbag billionaire they're talking about that inflates drug prices, and that's how he got that $9 billion, and what Tucker asked about.
Yeah.
All that MK Ultra stuff is proprietary technology that corporations have, and private entities have. Just like if you're rich enough, you could have Pegasus software.
Mhm.
So don't think they couldn't have gone to one of these people and had them, pass
Yeah.
word down. They'll. That's why they say Epstein didn't work for Mossad, because they're trying to use like the cutouts.
Plausible
It's legalese.
deniability. They
Yeah,
wanted.
but he did. Like I understand the
For sure.
legalese of it, but it was on behalf of
I
them.
agree. I agree. 100%. Okay, let's